So Tottenham's hunt for a centre-back looks like it's kind of coming to an end. Takehiro Tomiysau looks like he'll be Paratici's guy for Nuno Espirito Santo. And yeah, hopefully this doesn't drag out in the same way that their manager appointment did. It felt like I was doing a video every other day for Tottenham's manager. Subscribe to the channel by the way. But yeah, I think Tomiysau would be an interesting signing for Tottenham. Obviously, he plays for Bologna. If you look at the Serie A table last year based on expected goals against, they were the fourth worst defence in Serie A, which I don't think means you're a bad centre back at all. I don't think that's how it works. Tottenham had the ninth worst defence based on that same metric last season. But if you look at some of the teams below Tottenham, Aston Villa were below them, although I'd still say Ezri Konsa is a really good young centre back. Same with Fulham, I'd say Adarabioyo is a really good young centre back. It doesn't mean because you're in a bad defence, you're a bad centre back. Bologna, he wasn't necessarily a regular starter at centre back, but that was mainly due to his own versatility, right? If you look at his career, I think he's played about 40 games at fullback, and that does obviously boost his stats, right? So if you just look at his numbers without considering that, you'd think, wow, he's this really progressive ball carrier, right? But look, not many centre backs have that high progressive carries and progressive passes numbers, because it's just not how being a centre back works. It's probably why his pass completion is so low as well, because obviously when you're a fullback you make more riskier passes, right? But some of his metrics still don't. It doesn't matter if he's played at fullback. Like aerial duels, that's something that you still have aerial duels when you're out wide, right? So look, it is hard to judge his numbers, but they're all really promising for someone that's that young playing in a competitive league. He's clearly made that adaptation from Asian football over to the Premier League. For Tottenham, they've kind of mastered that market. Him and Son's done really well for them, and he's kind of built an audience. And I know Tottenham fans don't care about that, but it's something that their owners will think about. And you'd assume he'd be able to make that step up, especially if Tottenham do play a back three next season, which, obviously Nuno's Wolves side was always that back three. You'd have the ball player in the middle, then you'd have one of the aggressive centre-backs, which was normally Roman Saiss, and then you'd have your more cautious big centre-back in Willy Bolly, which, Tottenham could do that with the players they already have. You could have Ben Davies on the left side of the back three, then you could have Dyer or Alderweireld as your slower but pretty good passing centre back. Then you could have maybe Joe Rodon as kind of your big guy, which maybe Tomiysau could take up. But obviously they've been linked with other people, right? Joachim Andersen's been quite heavily linked as well, which I think Tottenham do need two centre backs, especially when you look at Tottenham centre backs. A lot of them are versatile players. Obviously Ben Davies is a left back by trade. Eric Dyer can play in midfield. Tanganga's played full back a lot. So I think Tottenham do need two centre backs. I think if they picked up someone like Joachim Andersen and Tomiysau, that'd be a really good business for Tottenham. They've kind of neglected that centre back spot for years. Mourinho didn't seem to rate Joe Rodon that highly and kind of saw Tanganga as more of a fullback. And Joachim Andersen, really dominant aerial centre back. Again, not incredible on the ball, but when you're playing for a Fulham side that often worked quite deep last season, it's kind of hard to judge. And his numbers were really good in Serie A as well when he was at Sampdoria. And Sampdoria have a really good production line of players that come through. Obviously, we've all seen Mikhail Damsgaard at the Euros, but Dennis Pratt, Bruno Fernandes, Lucas Teleda, Milan Skriniar. So I trust their eye. And obviously, look, Jules Kounde's been linked as well. But Jules Kounde being an elite centre back for Tottenham, brilliant in the air, even though he's only 5'10", and basically perfect on the ball and dribbling wise. It's weird because I think people assume that just because you're short means you're going to be bad in the air. People look at him and go, "Oh, he's 5'10", it must mean he's terrible in the air." But to have 3.5 aerial Jules one is mad. Like if you look at someone like Ruben Dias, for example, who's kind of a big guy, probably the most highly rated centre back in the league, bar Van Dijk. He's not even hitting two. So, and obviously style of play kind of comes into that, right? But I think it's an important thing to point out. If Tottenham could get Tomiysau over the line and then Joachim Andersen, I think that squad's really starting to take shape, because if you look at this squad right now, that midfield three is amazing for me. All those guys have put really good underlying numbers up outside of Mourinho. Ndombele and Lo Celso were elite young midfielders before they joined Mourinho. Højbjerg was good under Mourinho, but the point still stands. Matt Doherty was good under Nuno. I really rate Ryan Sessegnon and Reguilon. If Tottenham could keep Kane, add Tomiyasu and add Joachim Andersen or another guy, this could be a really good season for Tottenham coming up. I don't see why Tottenham couldn't push for a third place finish. I don't think they'll probably touch Liverpool or Man City, but I really rate Nuno, and I think Tottenham probably just need 3 good signings. And look, it's not like Tottenham centre backs are unmanageable either, And by the way, Ben White's been linked with Arsenal for 50 million quid. Numbers are really good. I really like Ben White, but they're not as good as Tomiyasu's, for example, in my opinion. And Tomiyasu's a year younger. But if you look at Tottenham centre backs, obviously Eric Dyer is he's Eric Dyer. He's not really particularly good at anything. But I'm sure he strikes me as someone that Nuno would like. Toby Alderweireld, a very useful centre back. Numbers dropped off a lot last season, and even the season before that. But he's a useful guy to have around. I really like the idea of actually not Sanchez, Ben Davies playing left centre back. I wouldn't take these numbers into account because he's literally never played there for Tottenham really, but I think he'd be really good on the side of a back three. Davinson Sanchez is the type of guy that, I could see Nuno trying to kind of use like Roman Seix, kind of that aggressive centre back who's a bit brain dead. And then obviously Joe Rodon and Tanganga are kind of, ones for the future that Nuno will either like or not. So I think Tottenham are in a good position. If they can get Tomiyasu over the line and maybe another guy, and then assuming Harry Kane stays, I think Tottenham are in a really good position. I think people are really overreacting. Like I remember seeing a few days ago on True Geordie's channel, was it the Kickoff channel, them saying, I didn't watch the video to be honest, but it was them talking about how Tottenham aren't going to finish top 10 or something. I think that's what it was. Where was it? Tottenham won't get top 10. Like Tottenham will be fine, trust me. If they get that Tomiyasu deal over the line, trust Nuno and get in and keep Harry Kane, I think Tottenham are in a really good position. Yeah, subscribe to the video if you enjoyed it. Like the video. And yeah, peace.